My name is Ben Cook, and I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, but I've recently moved to Durham, North Carolina to go to Duke University. Now, I'm very young. I don't yet know what I want to do with my life, but I do know that I want to empower and inspire people through new technology. I see traditional media as very much having power over people, and I think it's failing us. An example of that would be it's failed to cover the passage of the National Defense Authorization Act, and instead it's focusing on the Republican primary as though it were a sporting event. Um, Whereas new media, on the other hand, I think is really empowering us. An example would be, again, traditional media failed to cover the whole debate over the Stop Online Piracy Act, but new media, particularly through websites such as Reddit, led this whole campaign that ended up costing a web hosting domain, GoDaddy, 40,000 domains over its support for the bill. But that sort of thing is very much more the angry side of new media, and I actually like to focus on the positive side. That's people being empowered. I like to focus on them being inspired. My favorite example is Wikipedia, which today is the largest encyclopedia in human history, but it was written entirely by unpaid internet volunteers. I look to the future and I see a lot of hope. Now, I don't have a lot of experience working, but I have seen what can happen when people are empowered and inspired. In high school, I was deeply involved in this program called Youth Court, where minors who commit crimes plead guilty, and rather than being yelled at by an antagonistic judge, they're judged by a jury of their peers who give them an individually tailored sentence that's designed to restore them and make them feel like a part of the community rather than a criminal. I saw firsthand the impact that this would have in these kids' lives. It would really inspire them. So today, as I study in college, I've broadened my scope from this very sort of narrow impact to trying to change the world. So today I study public policy to understand how to have an impact, political science to understand the systems that I'm working with, and business to give myself the tools I'll need to have the greatest impact. So, I recognize that my task is not an easy one. There are a lot of things about the world that scare me. I think unlike the idealism of my parents' generation, we've sort of swung to the opposite extreme, and my generation is deeply cynical. Many of us feel like we can't make a difference even if we try. I would say what scares me more than anything about the world is apathy. But I really do remain incredibly hopeful. I think that technology has already begun to empower and inspire people on a huge scale. I mean, this year we saw it toppling dictators and changing lives across the globe. And it's only going to continue to grow. So, I look around and with the wealth of human knowledge literally at my fingertips, and the ability to have a real-time conversation with anyone, anywhere in the world, I think it's impossible to remain apathetic. And, the task isn't easy, but I'm incredibly hopeful for the future.